Hey guys, Angry Monkey here, talking about a convention. So on Friday, this past Friday, I went to a convention in Columbus, Ohio called Matsuricon. I've been there before, but this was the first time they've had it since 2019 because of the events of the last couple years. Now, I've gone consistently since 2016 plus 2012, but I'm here to talk about 2022. So I got to the hotel and convention center around 11:30 or 12 on Friday, August 12th. So first what I did, of course, I dropped off my bag and then I went to go to pick up my badge. I'm what they call it a plus up member. It costs more, but basically what it does, you get some goodies, which I don't care about the goodies, but the other thing with the plus up versus just standard plus is a guaranteed specific session for autographs, which I love collecting autographs from voice actors and stuff like that. I've met a few of those voice actors several times, but it's just really fun to meet them, whether it's for the first time or meet them again. Had some stuff I wanted to get signed, some DVDs, whatever. I basically had a binder of DVD covers of, hey, you're so and so, can you sign this? That type of thing. Yeah. So, anyway, I took a look at the goodies that I get with the plus up stuff, and I mean, yeah, you see some cool stuff there until you actually look at what you have. So the green bag itself, notice the sticker or whatever that is. It's kind of a print on sticker thing. Is was already coming off when I picked up the bag, or like 5 minutes after I picked up the bag, the sticker was starting to come off. So that's not really a good sign of the quality of the stuff that I paid extra for. Now, the water bottle might be nice, it might leak. I didn't use it, it's still in the wrapper, as you can see in the picture. Bracelet, necklace, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. Um, but the thing that really bothered me more than anything else when it comes to this, and this isn't just a plus up thing, this was standard for everybody at the convention, was the guidebook. Basically, it tells you the guests that were going to be there, uh, all the panels, like a description about them, but nowhere in the guide did it have a printed schedule of when these events were. You had to go on the website, on the phone, on a Google document thing, and it was really hard to navigate of, okay, what time does this start, because you're having to scroll over. You couldn't zoom in, you had to scroll over. Actually, no, you can zoom in, you couldn't zoom out to see the whole thing. So you're scrolling over and you're like, okay, so this event, you're scrolling over, what is that time? Okay, is it 12 or 11:30? And it was just really unorganized. And then you're like, okay, what room was that again? So you have to scroll back over, then scroll up to see what room it was in. It was a mess. Now, there's a similar convention called OhioCon that takes place in January. Same building, and they used an app last time where it basically had all the events on there. You check off the events, and it gives you a reminder of when those events were. Matsuricon didn't do that, and like I said, they didn't have a printed schedule to reference. You had to use your phone for everything, or the guide for descriptions. But if you're like me and you're like, okay, so where do I go and when do these events happen? So what I had to do is I had to ask a help desk of, hey, I need help finding out when these events are. I made a list on my phone on the reminders tab of all the events I wanted to see and when and where does this event take place. Now, while I was asking questions, and oh, how about this Pokemon Science thing? Oh, that one's canceled. Oh, okay. How about the Yokai one? That one's canceled. Oh, okay. Well, how about the video game tunes? Name that tune. That one's canceled too. Oh, well, okay. It felt like the panels were already lacking of substance. Now, I made the same kind of criticism in the Anime Ohio one of there's a Pokemon thing that was on Sunday, and I'll get to what I actually did do, but there was a Pokemon panel that was on Sunday, and I'm sure it's a great panel. I've been to it twice, but I'm like, I've already seen this one twice, and it's already been offered at least 2 other times that I was at a convention for. So I'm like, where's new stuff? Like that was kind of the problem. Like the panels that were interesting, I've already seen multiple times. And not saying that I didn't want to see them again because it's been a little bit, but there wasn't anything new, or it felt like there wasn't anything new. So that was a major problem as well. So, like I said, not a lot of new panels or not a lot of variety of panels, and some interesting panels that you wanted to see were canceled, as well as not knowing what time or where they were. So, like I said, there were so many issues going into the convention. So, anyway, I got that all straightened out. And then I'm like, cool, let's go to the vendor hall. So I walk all the way down the vendor hall. By the way, this video that I'm showing is me basically going from the vendor hall back to basically where the help desk was, but like in reverse. Yeah. There was another convention that was happening at the same time. Now, our day one was their final day, but I'm going to call it ChurchCon because it was some kind of church convention. Was happening in the same building basically at the same time as us, but they were finishing up as we were getting started. So they rented out, I'm going to call them Room A and Room B, and we had to put the vendor hall in Room C, which is on the complete opposite side of the building. Like, you couldn't go any further from a lot of the other events than where this was. Usually it's like in Room A, and there's been times where it's in the other part of the convention center that you barely even go onto this other side of the building anyway, and it'd be like upstairs, but they're still doing some construction, some renovation type stuff. And so they had to put it on the complete opposite side of the building. And I timed it. It was like a 7-minute walk or something. I don't know the exact thing right now. I forget. But I timed myself walking to the escalator, and I turned it off because I'm going up an escalator. And then from the escalator to basically the other side of the building. And yeah, it was about a 7-minute walk. So let's just say you're like, all right, well, I got a half hour to kill or an hour to kill or something before my next panel. So you walk like 7 minutes there and then like 7 minutes back. That's like almost 15 minutes of just walking like in a round trip. Like it was kind of dumb. Now, then you have the issue of the vendor hall itself that was only like 2/3 used. I guess they just weren't able to fill that room to capacity like they usually do. Maybe a lot of booths just weren't able to or canceled last minute or whatever. But it felt very empty. Now, there was still some good stuff there. I bought some cool stuff, and I'll share what I got at the end of the video. But it was just a very empty feeling room. Yeah. So I guess that's what this first part of the video is about, is just a lot of the complaints that I had. Now, let's move on to what did I actually do. So the first thing I did, first panel I went to was learning basic Japanese kanji. Like, I guess you could say how to write, but it's like how to read it, or just learning some Japanese words. And that one was one of my favorite panels of the entire convention. And so that was at 2 p.m. on Friday. So we got to learn things like numbers and months and days, and then some other words like dirt and book and stuff like that, which was really cool because like you learn like the word suchi, which is like dirt or something, and I'm like, oh well, that makes the Tsuchikage in Naruto make sense. And then I forget what Mizu was. Mizu is water, which makes the Mizukage make sense. We had Suchi, which means soil, so I was right, dirt, soil, yeah. Which again, Tsuchikage, that make a lot more sense. And you learn like Ki means tree, Sora means sky, Getsu means moon or month, depending on the context of it being used, which makes like the Getsu Gatensho that Ichigo uses in Bleach, that attack. So moon is somewhere in that name. So it's just really cool learning some Japanese words and then making some stuff that you watch in anime make a little bit more sense. Like I said, I really enjoyed that panel. I learned a lot. Uh, One of the things I forgot to mention was back to the number thing. Now, I definitely knew 1 through 5 going into this, and I had an idea of like what 6 through 10 was and all that. But I thought it was kind of cool because it reminded me of one of the One Piece intros where they say Ichi ni sunshine, and so that translates to 1, 2, sunshine, and that's how they sang it basically. And I remember when I first watched that, I thought like, okay, I don't get it. Like 1, 2, sunshine, and then it kind of clicked because I remembered that san means 3 and shi means 4. And so then I thought, oh, I hope go means 5 because if it does, that would be hilarious. And yes, go means 5. So in the whole each knee sunshine we go in the intro makes sense because it's basically counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but with a play on words of sunshine, meaning like san and shi, and go. And I just thought that whole intro was just brilliant. And so that just kind of reminded me of that when I was going through all the numbers of 1 through 10. I'm like, that's funny. That makes that intro one of my favorite One Piece intros just because of that random pun that was thrown in there that you would only understand if you knew a little bit of Japanese words. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you guys real quick. So that went from 2 to 3, and then I went to the Surviving the Zombie Apocalypse with Aaron Dismuke. Aaron Dismuke is a voice actor. You might know him for the English voice of Alphonse Elric in the original Full Metal Alchemist back in 2003. He was also, I think he was in Oron High School Host Club. I think. I haven't seen the show, so don't quote me on that. Future me will correct me if I'm wrong. And one of his more recent roles is Senku from Dr. Stone. So anyway, he's big into zombie apocalypse and like this is my idea of a zombie apocalypse and what do you guys think? What would be some of your ideas? And it was a really fun panel. I went to that one last year at another local convention, and I talked to him about one of my ideas, and then he presented an idea that's similar. I'm like, oh, that's good. So I kind of brought it up, and basically I had an idea, or one of my friends had an idea of, okay, so you have a horde of zombies, and you're like climbing up a tornado siren tower thing, and the sound is drawing all those zombies to that tower, and you can start picking them off. And he's like, well, yeah, that's a good idea. What you could also do, depending on how sadistic you are, is to basically tie somebody to a tree and have them shout and yell, and that draws zombies. And I'm like, that is actually a really good idea because, like, what if you don't have power, like electricity or whatever? I don't know how those tornado siren things work, but it works on a smaller scale, I guess, but it's easier, more convenient. You just need a tree. So anyway, I'm like, yeah, I just want to ask you again about this idea that you and I talked about last year. And he's like, no, don't call me out like that. And he was like, I basically embarrassed him in front of the whole convention. So yeah, if you guys are watching this video that was at the convention, yeah, that was me. Yeah, but it was a really fun convention. And I just really enjoyed talking to Aaron. Really funny guy. And so then that went from 3 to 4, and then I had about a half hour to kill until Ask Jerry Anything with Jerry Jewell. Jerry Jewell's another anime voice actor. One of his big roles was Fruits Baskets back in the day. Both versions, the original and the 2019 version. I still need to see that. But I also know him from Black Clover. I know him from Dr. Stone. He was another smaller role, one of the main villains. I forget his name, the guy with the spear. Yeah, and then you also have like Caesar from One Piece was one of his more recent roles. So it was really fun to just hear him talk about like some stuff, and I got to have him do the Caesar laugh and how embarrassed he was. Man, I sound like a really horrible person because I'm like, hey, can you answer this question or can you do this thing? And then they feel really weird and awkward about it. So apparently, I just ask really weird questions. I don't ask a lot of questions anyway because I don't know, like stage fright. But I'm like, oh, this would be kind of interesting or funny to ask. And I'm like, can you do the Caesar laugh? And he does it, and he's like, oh, that was bad. And it's just I don't know. So, Aaron or Jerry, if you guys are watching this, thank you for being a great sport. You're both very great people, and hope you're able to come back to Matsuricon in the future. Yeah, love you both. So anyway, that went from 4:30 to 5:30, and then I had about another half hour to kill. Then it was a Q&A with Kyle Bear, and Kyle was kind of fun because he didn't really get a chance to answer too many questions because he just had this long rant of whatever it was he wanted to talk about, but it was entertaining. I mean, he's a funny guy. Kyle Bear, another voice actor, known for Adult Gohan and Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Z Kai, Dragon Ball Super, of course. So he talked about the new movie a little bit. No spoilers outside of Gohan's awesome again, so that's exciting to see. He also voices Kiba and Naruto. He's Aizen in Bleach. He's just got a lot of big roles and just really fun guy to listen to. So that went from about 6 to 7. So I had a few hours to kill, which I thought, well, now's a good time to eat because I hadn't eaten since donuts for breakfast, which was like at 9:30, I guess, somewhere around there. So outside of like a Slim Jim, I had a Slim Jim as my lunch, and that was around like 2 or 3 or something. Yeah, but I didn't actually have a full meal until about 7:30. Yeah, so I had some time to kill, and I ate Charlie's Philly steak. Oh, so good. Basically, it's like a 3 cheese Philly steak with bacon and barbecue sauce. Oh, so good. Yeah, so I had that. Yeah, it was a good sandwich. You could tell how much I'm talking about. It was a good sandwich. Uh, so we had a few hours to kill. We walked around a little bit. Like they have a little comic book store, so I walked around in that. Uh, Took some pictures of cosplays, and I'll have a cosplay section after the panel section. Uh, yeah, it was fun, but I also had a lot of time to kill because, like I said, there was like a 4 hour gap or something between events. So the next event that I went to was Con Horror Stories. And I've been to this one before, and this guy's stories were just hilarious. I actually recorded like full stories that he said. I'm not going to post them in the videos, except for maybe this one because it's kind of short and it's one of my favorite stories.
My friends, instead of going for an actual hotel,
he tried to learn the lesson again, failed in different ways.
My friend woke me up by stepping on me and his bird got out. I don't remember what kind of bird it was, but it was a little tiny bird. He left, he was like, hey, feed my bird. I came back, his roommate, who was not there when I came in there, he was there, he pulled the gun on me. He said, what's your name, what are you doing here? I tried to explain. I said, my name is King. When I say that, people go, Ken, Kenny, Ken. I go, King, K-I-N-G, but he heard Ken. So he calls the friend, he goes, do you have a guy named Ken staying here? I go, my name is Ken. He goes, points the gun like, you shut up. And the friend goes, no Ken. And he goes, all right, call the police. I'm in handcuffs. And I'm like, I did nothing wrong. I know I did nothing wrong. This is not breaking and entering. The friend comes in, the friend who he comes in, he goes, this is my friend. He's supposed to be here. What are you doing? So the police goes, I know that breaking and entering and things like that, but you can't just pull a gun on people. Is that weed? The guy that pulled the gun on me gets arrested for marijuana possession because I was at the time. And because I did not get a chance to feed my friend's bird, the bird died.
But if you're ever in a local convention and you see a guy named Kang, ask him about Arrow, and he'll tell you that hilarious story as well. It's just, I mean, he's telling the story. I'm like, oh, man, like how does like he's got to be making this stuff up, but at the same time, it's like I don't think he is. Like it's just unfortunate circumstances of somebody at a convention. You're like, yeah, so this happened, and then that led to this, and then this thing happened, and then cops were involved, and weird stories like that. It's just like, okay, clearly you didn't learn your lesson from the last like 3 stories you told of don't bunk with random people you've never met at a convention because weird things happen. Yeah, so it was that was fun. So then I stuck around for basically in the same room was some, I'm gonna call it an AMV panel, but it wasn't like just playing AMVs that people submit. It's like weird things, and I can't describe them because they're just weird. So you draw a popsicle stick out of the bag, and it either be like video 6 or event 3 or something like that. And so, or challenge 3. It's like either a video or a challenge. So if it's a video, they're going to play that video. And they're pretty bizarre. There were a couple of them that one of them got picked, and they're like, okay, we're going to have to close the door for this one. So you're like, oh boy. There's going to be hentai in this because why else would they close the door? And yep, there's the hentai. And I'm like, this is awkward. I'm not enjoying this one because, yeah. But then you also have challenges like somebody has a giant cardboard box and they're pretending that they're solid snakes sneaking through a building, or one guy just had to yell Sasuke really loud because Sasuke's like Naruto, and he's like Sasuke. I'd like destroy my voice just by saying that. Stuff like that. One of them was you have a jelly bean, and is it mango flavored or is it barf flavored? And unfortunately, that poor soul had the barf flavored jelly bean. Now, he did get compensated with a Luigi plush. Is it worth eating a barf flavored jelly bean? I don't know. I mean, maybe. It's like, that's cool. But I'm just glad I wasn't the one that ate that jelly bean. So anyway, at this point, it's about what time is it? It's like 1 a.m. So yeah, it's kind of a late Friday night. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess it's time to go to the hotel room, start getting ready for bed because I got a long day tomorrow on Saturday. So I'm walking, and by the way, this is in the long hallway on the other side of the building. So I'm walking a good at least 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes to get to my hotel room from where I was. Yeah, like I said, it's a long walk. But I mean, that one wasn't as bad as like the vendor hall location, which I understand they couldn't do anything about that because of ChurchCon. But anyway, yeah. So I get to the hotel room and start getting ready for bed, and it's about 1:30, 1:45 a.m. and I hear some cop sirens, and I'm like, oh, okay. I wonder where that's coming from. So I look out the window and I see a cop car flying down the road, and I'm like, whoa, okay. And then there's like 3 more cop cars behind it. I'm like, ooh, are we having like a high-speed chase or something? What is happening here? And then like there's one that's like turning like one of the other roads. It's like perpendicular to it, and it's like turning right following the others, and you have another one that's like turning left following all the others. So I'm like, okay, there's been like 8 cop cars. What is happening here? And then I'm looking in the sky, and there's a helicopter flying above one of the buildings too. And I'm like, okay, that helicopter's looking for somebody. Somebody did something in downtown Columbus, and I'm like, I gotta find out what this is. And then like 5 minutes later, you see an ambulance going down. I'm like, okay, there's the ambulance. I'm like, wow. Like, I was updating everybody on Discord. I'm like, dude, this thing just happened. Oh man, now there's this. Now there's this. And of course they're like, gee, Angry, what you do? And I'm like, I didn't rob a bank. Like, I was joking like that. Yeah. So, of course, I wasn't able to find out what happened until the next day. So, the next morning, I read of some nightclub shooting in downtown Columbus, and I looked at the address or whatever, and it's like 5 minutes from the hotel. And they're like, "Oh yeah, this thing happened 1:45 a.m." I'm like, "That's got to be it." So anyway, I got to somewhat witness that. So just crazy stories that happen at a convention. Um, Even though it wasn't actually at the convention. But yeah, anyway. So I set my alarm for 8:30, and then I head down to the autograph session at about 9 a.m. Things started at 10. Now, unfortunately, I missed out on some really good panels that were between 9 and 10, like Anime Under the Radar, and then from 10 to 11 was Saturday Morning Anime of the 80s, Anime Physics. So I'm like, all those sound really cool, but I paid extra for the VIP autograph, so that's what I'm doing. So I didn't. I don't think I had to wait in line that extra hour. I'm so used to having to do that for before I became a VIP or other times I'm in autograph lines where they're like, get there an hour before the actual thing if you want to have a chance of getting your autograph, which is a huge pain. I don't think I had to this time because there was only, what, 75 of us or 100 of us or whatever that actually had this thing. And once you're in that line, you're guaranteed your autographs because you paid for those. Uh, so I guess I didn't need to get there as early as I did, but I mean, whatever. It wasn't that big a deal, and you always talk to people in the autograph line. You get to meet some new friends or whatever. So, I mean, that part's always cool. So, what did I get? What did I get autographed? So, basically, I got three Dr. Stone autographs. So I met Jerry Jewell, Hyoga from Dr. Stone, as well as Gen, the magician guy from Dr. Stone, and of course Aaron is Senku. So those were my Dr. Stone autographs. I would love to get Kohaku's autograph because I just love Kohaku as a character. But anyway, I also got Kyle Bear to sign for Kamina from Gurren Lagann. And oh, by the way, when I was actually in the autograph room, there was a girl that was dressed as Yoko, and not only is she very attractive, but she also looked the part of Yoko. So I'm like, huh, that's really cool. Too bad she's on the other side of the room right now, and it'd be kind of weird for me to get out of my line to walk up to a random person and say, "Hey, can I get a picture?" So yeah, I didn't do that. But anyway, Jerry Jewell, I actually got two autographs for, as you can see. Caesar from One Piece, and he also has the laugh that he does. The One Piece characters, I'm sure if you're a One Piece fan, you know that characters have very weird laughs, and so it was really cool that he wrote the weird laugh on there. And then Kyle McCarley voices Mob in Mob Psycho 100, so of course I had to have him sign for Mob. Had I had other opportunities, um, I would have had Brandon McGinnis, the voice of again from Doctor Stone. I would have had him sign a Finroll thing, Finroll from Black Clover. I was looking for a picture of all the Black Bulls from Black Clover together, and I couldn't find one I was satisfied with. And of course, he was only selling just Finroll by himself, which makes sense. That's his character. Um, I also walked past Joel McDonald, which I didn't have anything for him at the time because I forgot that he was Kuma in One Piece. I'm like, oh man, I could have had him sign for that. Or Aoyama, I think that's his name from My Hero Academia, belly button beam guy. Uh, I just didn't have anything with me for him to sign, so I just said hi to him real quick, like, "Hey, welcome back," and he's like, "Oh, thanks, man." Yeah. Now I got all of those autographs done, with the exception of Aaron Dismuke. I got all those done in like 20 minutes, so that was really good. Now Aaron had a little bit longer line, which it's kind of expected. So his was probably another 10 minutes in itself for the Dr. Stone autograph. But yeah, I got all my stuff done by about 10:30 or so, maybe 10:45. So about a half hour for this hour and a half long autograph session. I got it all done. I'm like, hey, that's really cool. So I had time to catch the second half of the Shonen Jump panel, basically talking about the history and like the rise of Shonen Jump and stuff. Basically, it's an industry panel. Like somebody, like I don't know if the person presenting it was from the Shonen Jump industry, but it was really cool to like learn the history of Shonen Jump and um, how it got popular and when it got popular and like the different eras of it, I guess. So you had like a lot of people call it like the muscular era, which would be like I don't know, Fist of the North Star and like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure would technically be under that. I'm talking about the original manga from like the 80s, not the 2012 or 15 or whatever anime series. But so you had stuff like that, and then you had them talking about like, oh yeah, then you also have this era where you had the creation of this little show called Dragon Ball, and it was interesting to hear on how that one was so different than the other shonens that were made at the time, because it wasn't like this overly muscular. I mean, yeah, Goku's muscular, but he wasn't muscular in the same way that a JoJo character is, or that what's his name from Fist of the North Star is. At least not in the beginning. And talking about like this whole idea of like friendship and the fact that Goku does lose battles, and so you have like major things like character development and all that stuff, and that's what made it really popular. Um, and it was just something that people had never seen before. So I thought that was really interesting to learn about that. And then they talk about like the stuff from like the 90s or whatever. You have like Yu Yu Hakusho and some of those. And then you had like the big three. So we're talking about like in the early 2000s now with like the naturally the big three are One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach. Those were like the three best selling manga series at the time, and that's why they're called the big three. And then talking about those, and you had like the idea during this era was the friendship and victory type stuff. That was kind of the driving force of shonen at the time. And then they're talking about like the current era of shonen, which I thought was very interesting, where they're kind of dumping the whole friendship and victory type thing, like friendship solves everything. Like there seems to be a shift away from that. And a lot of the shonen shows right now, shonen manga, and I guess the shows as well, seem to be more dark and what they're calling like the demon era of shonen, because you have like Demon Slayer during this and Jujutsu Kaisen during this and Chainsaw Man, which I mean I haven't seen Chainsaw Man yet, but I mean based on what I've seen it looks pretty dark, and I haven't seen Jujutsu Kaisen yet, but I agree it looks a little bit darker than some of the other shonen shows out there. Now I have seen the first season of Demon Slayer, so yeah, but I see what they're talking about there, and like I said, it's interesting to see this transition from the fun aspect of shonen that you see like in like Naruto or One Piece, and you're like, oh man, this is like really dark and like a little bit. I don't. Maybe it's bloodier. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't seen like Chainsaw Man yet, but it looks a little bit bloodier than you would expect. So it's just again, it's interesting to see on how shonen has changed. So yeah, that was a really interesting panel, and I only saw about a half hour of the full hour thing. Uh, anyway, so that was from 10:15 to 11:15, and then we had about 45 minutes to kill for the Recording My Hero Be Like panel with Brandon McGinnis, who is Sir Night-Eye in My Hero Academia. Just kind of talking about like how he got that role. Aaron was supposed to be there too, and well, he wasn't. um, anyway, that was from 12 to 1, and again, just kind of industry talking about how he got that role and answering questions on just things like that. But then I did see Aaron again at the Q&A panel, and that went from 1:30 to 2:30. And again, just answering questions, favorite role that he's done, and just apparently he told a story about how many cars he's crashed when he was younger, because apparently that's a thing for him. Um, yeah, so that was another fun panel. Then I had a lot of time to kill, because here it is. It's about 2:30. And my next panel wasn't until 5. So I remember I grabbed a muffin at some point. I think I grabbed a muffin before the Aaron panel, but yeah, that was my lunch. It was just a chocolate muffin. Uh, so anyway, I went to the cooking, camping, and slice of life, basically slice of life from the last 6 years, um, and a convention acquaintance, Yui Senpai, and I will have Yui's channel in the description below. Basically, just talking about some uh, slice of life anime from the last 6 years. Naturally, you got the obvious one like Kaguya-sama, Love is War. Great show if you haven't seen it. Really funny. But you had stuff like Himoto Umaru-chan, which I've seen clips of it. It looks really funny, really cute. Sweetness and Lightning. That little girl looks absolutely adorable in that show. So I want to check it out. Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, Laid Back Camp, Super Cub, Komi Can't Communicate. I know that one's a really popular show that I need to watch. Um, so, I mean, just going over some really popular series from the last 6 years. So I've got pictures like of the slideshow there. So if something looked interesting to you, or it's like, oh yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah. Like I said, I took pictures of the slideshow. Yeah. Uh, so then I didn't have anything to do because that panel ended at 6, and my next panel wasn't until like 9 p.m. that night, and then they pushed it back to 9:30. So I had so much time to kill. I was actually really bored. Like, really bored. I mean, you're walking around. They didn't have the arcade that they usually do. I heard that the arcade actually went out of business. I mean, they had like a small arcade thing, but nothing like they used to. I mean, they would have like 3 or 4 DDR set up, and you would have like all the Guitar Hero Rock Band stuff set up, and you have like this arcade game and this arcade game and this and this and this, and you have like tables lined up of, well, in 2019, yeah, I guess they still had Switches in 2019, but I remember they would have like Wii U set up with Smash Brothers, and probably the Switch with Smash Brothers, and PS4 set up with some kind of like tournament happening and stuff like that. It was really cool. They didn't have that. They didn't have the manga library, so there's just like nothing to do. Like, you're walking around and that's it. Because like I said, the panels were kind of lacking. Uh, However, the one that was at 9:30, while the line was stupid long, was very entertaining. Basically, WTF Japan went from 9:30 to 10:30, and it's just a compilation of weird videos, pictures, advertisements, commercials, just whatever that the person was able to get a hold of. That's like, this is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. Like Chicken Attack and Kiman Toshi, like basically teaching English, and it's, yeah, stuff like that. And at the time, I mean, I'm watching, it's like, this is amazing, and like a couple movie trailers, and like, I really hope this is a movie because I want to see this. I do have one of them, by the way. That Zombie of the Dead, where basically like the virus like goes up your butthole and you become a zombie and all this stuff. Like, I actually have that on DVD. I haven't seen it yet though, but that was one of the movies they showed, and some guy that's like some he kind of reminds me of like Deadpool, but he has like a pair of panties on his head, and he's like some weird perverted superhero thing. Kind of reminded me of Deadpool in a way. But it's just like that was some of the stuff that they have, and like the whole used panties thing in Japan, which it's kind of a myth. They've kind of debunked that as an actual thing, but just the idea of that, it's just like I said, it was just a collection of weird things, and it was so much fun. Yeah, so that went from 9:30 to 10:30. And then I was able to hop on over to the second half, the Doki Doki Literature Club panel, which was another one that Yui Senpai hosted. I would have been there right at 10 if the WTF Japan go didn't start a half hour later, because there was a Genshin panel that was happening before that, and it was like some weird Genshin dating panel or something. I don't know. It was weird. I didn't go to that one, of course, because for one, I don't know Genshin Impact at all outside of the name, but it was like some weird dating thing, and that ran a half hour later, which pushed WTF Japan a half hour later. So anyway, I went to the second half of Doki Doki Literature Club and basically learning about the game. I guess there were Literature Club memes and like, what's your favorite experience with it, stuff like that. So that was a fun panel, at least the second half, the half that I was there for. Yeah, so that went from 10 to 11. So I got up to the hotel room. It was about 11:30, I guess, and I was probably in bed by midnight, which for a Saturday night at a convention is early, because usually I'm out until like 2 a.m. on Saturday night. But again, there's just not a lot of things going on. Uh, yeah. So I set my alarm again for 8:30, and I was basically ready by about 9. Checked out, brought my stuff down to my vehicle, but I wasn't ready to leave yet because I had a couple panels I wanted to see. Um, but around 9:30, I guess, I got back into the building and had a half hour to kill before One Piece According to 4Kids, which started at 10 a.m. on Sunday. And that was a 2-hour panel. Usually these are only 1-hour panels, but since everybody else is canceling, well, sure, if you want to do the 2-hour version, do the 2-hour version, because there's not much going on. So, yeah, that was really entertaining, because I've seen clips of the One Piece 4Kids dub, which 4Kids is known for taking shows and gearing them towards a younger audience. I'm sure those watching this video know something about anime. So, Pokemon, for example, the first 8 seasons was 4Kids. 4Kids dubbed Yu-Gi-Oh! They did Shaman King, I think. Yeah, they did a lot of like anime that you can gear towards kids. Now, One Piece on the surface looks like it would be a kid-friendly show until you realize there's guns, there's blood, there's alcohol, stuff like that. And they had to change so much of it. So, I mean, you look this up on the internet because it's all out there. But like, I don't know, they changed rum to like grape juice or something, and guns to like super soakers, and yeah, took out all the blood. They changed devil fruits to cursed fruits, changed characters' names. So Captain Smoker was Captain Chaser. Porcus D Ace was Trace. Porcaz D Trace or something weird like that. They took out the whole Laboon arc, which basically made it a minute and a half iceberg instead of a 2-episode thing. They took so basically 143 episodes was brought down to like 104 episodes, something like that. And then, of course, Funimation came along and basically saved it, revived it, and uncensored it, unedited the dub of One Piece, and that's the version that we all know. But yeah, so it was entertaining to watch these clips, and like what some characters sounded like. Oh, Sanji. I feel bad for David Moo, the guy that voiced Sanji in the 4Kids dub, because that wasn't his fault. His directors and all that stuff said, give him a Brooklyn accent, and he's like, hey, Luffy, it sounds like this, and it's just like really ugly. And he actually left the voice acting industry, probably because of how bad his direction was in that. Yeah, so anyway, that was a very, very cool panel. And that was 2 hours. So that went from 10 to noon. And then I had about a half hour to kill And I had a couple choices to make there of basically how to be a voice actor with Jerry Jewell, which I wanted to see, but I thought, well, Aaron Dismuke is having a writing a dub, like dub script or whatever. I thought, okay, I've never been to that type of panel before, so I'll go to that. So that went from 12:30 to 1:30, just asking him questions like how would you change this line, or like he would explain like, oh yeah, so this happened in this episode, and like he was talking about Attack on Titan, where, and this isn't really a spoiler thing, he's looking in the mirror and he's talking about like fight, fight, fight was like one of the things he was saying to himself in the mirror, and I don't know, it got changed to like let's fight or we fight or something like that to try to like mask some of those extra syllables instead of saying fight, fight, fight. Or he was talking about like in Fairy Tale where Natsu would like punch somebody and you have all the other characters are like, wow, that was a great punch. I agree. That was a really great punch that Natsu did. And that was apparently the in the sub, and the dub got changed to, I don't know, like Happy being obsessed with fish or something. So it's like more things for the character that are still true to that character, but slightly more exciting dialogue. And then you also had the case of like Kaguya-sama, for example. He was explaining like in that case where the dub acts as kind of a rewatch and not like a substitute. Because like usually when it comes to a dub, they try to do as close as they could to like a 1-1 ratioed translation. But there are some times where they have a little bit more creative freedom, I guess, to change it. Sometimes they feel that they can enhance what the original writer says, or not what the original writer says, but like, I don't know, clarify things or something that maybe wasn't brought in well through the sub, or maybe it's maybe it is that they have a little bit more creative freedom. It's like, hey, make this as good as you can. Like he didn't really go into detail with ghost stories, but I mean that's kind of an example of like do what you want, kinda. Um, I'm not going to go into too much detail on that because I know the story, but I don't want to get some facts wrong and all that stuff. But anyway, yeah. Uh, so that went from 12:30 to 1:30. I went back to the vendor hall one more time. I've visited a few times, but um, just to make sure I got what I wanted. And there was definitely a lot of stuff I wanted to get, but I didn't want to blow my budget, which I think I did pretty good. I only went about $15 over budget, which at a convention is really good, because usually when I go to a convention it's like, ooh, I'm like $150 over budget, and like 15, yeah, that's like not even noticeable. Like I can eat $15. That's no big deal at all. So yeah, I left around 2:15. No, yeah, something like that. 2:15, 2:30 maybe, and yeah. So I would have stuck around a little bit more. The con was open until 4 p.m., but there wasn't a lot to do. Like I said, so there was definitely a lot of fear of like, is this going to be how it's going to be now? Like maybe I shouldn't go back to this. But I thought, well, let's give it benefit of the doubt. Like this is their first con since lockdown happened, so yeah, it's not going to be as good, but you can tell they're trying. So I thought, all right, I'll go to 2023. Now, if 2023 is a letdown, then yeah, I might step out of the con game for a few years. But I'm really hoping that 2023 will be really good. Be like, all right, yeah, this was definitely better than 2022. I had a lot of fun, but we'll see how that goes when 2023 gets here. Now, before I sign off, let's go over some of the pictures that I got for cosplayers. So, I got to see the Discord mascot with a glowing light up cape, the Squid Girl from Splatoon, um, some really cool setups. This is in the vendor area. You can get your picture taken with some cool backgrounds. Um, I got to see Albedo from Overlord and I haven't seen Spy Family yet, but the mom from Spy Family. By the way, there were so many Anyas there. I at least know that character. There were so many Anyas there. Like, there were more Anyas than any other character. Or I guess you could say Spy Family. There were more Spy Family characters than any other series there. Like, there were more of those than Goku. There was, I don't think I saw a single Naruto there. Now, I did see other Naruto characters, but I didn't see a single Naruto, I don't think. Anyway, I forget his name, but he's from My Hero Academia. Uh, a pink Master Chief with cat ears. Zero Two, Master Roshi. I forget her name, but from Pokemon Legends Arceus. Plastic Army Men. That was really cool to see those Plastic Army Men. Lupin the Third is always a classic, so you got a couple Lupins there, and Jigen and Zenigata. Five Nights at Freddy's character, Garfield. You always need Garfield at a convention. Some weird robot gorilla thing. Yeah. Old man Link and Zelda. That couple really is that old, but I don't know. I just love their cosplay. It's really adorable how they did it. Very well done. Like, yeah. Uraraka from My Hero Academia. I don't know what those are, but there's a picture. Waluigi. This Waluigi was really funny because he was dressed. He was playing the part. So he was going down the hall. He's like, wah, wah, Waluigi, like that kind of thing. I'm like, hey, can I get a picture? He's like, yeah, like that. It was just, oh, it was so funny. Whatever this thing is, like a washer dryer robot man. Then of course you have Sokka, and I guess that's supposed to be Katara as the painted lady, or it could just be the painted lady. Yeah, that was really cool. Chip Skylark from Fairly Odd Parents, that was really cool, really original. Dr. Stone characters. You got Cynthia and Lucario. So you got, like, there were a lot of furries there. Of course, there's always furries at a convention, but I don't know. I kind of enjoyed that it was furry Lucario and Cynthia. Isaac from Angels of Death. You had a couple Yamatos from One Piece. Now, I am not this far, so I don't know really anything about the character. Apparently, there is some connection to Ace. So it was really cool to see this Yamato and Ace together. I forget this character's name. I just remember it's the bug girl from Overlord. Really creepy and very well done cosplay. So, like, if you're watching this, well done. Of course, you got Doflamingo holding the, looks like the flame fruit. You got the Yakuza house husband, which is really funny because I just got out of Slice of Life panel, and that was one of the shows that they talked about was Yakuza house husband, so it was really cool to see the cosplay there. Then we got Hawkeye Mihawk from One Piece, and yeah, he couldn't pull that sword out because we're in the middle of the line for the WTF Japan panel, but I mean, that sword is taller than him, so it was impressive. Then, of course, we have 3 of the 4 girls from Doki Doki Literature Club. This is, of course, during the Literature Club panel. Unfortunately, Best Girl's not there. Natsuki was not able to attend. But we do have Sayori, we do have Monica, we do have Yuri. But again, not complete. You don't have Natsuki. You do have adult Avatar Aang. Very impressive. Kirby is always good. You have Ava Unit 2 in some kind of onesie suit. Oh, and just to troll you guys, this guy going around with a sign that says you lost the game. So, if you're watching this, you lost the game. And so did I. So, anyway, I got home, and I bet you're wondering, so, what'd you get? Well, I got some good stuff from one of the DVD booths. It was the same guy that at Anime Ohio had a lot of things for $18. Unfortunately, that deal was not there this time, but I got some good stuff. I was really excited to get Code Geass, both seasons 1 and 2. Darling in the Franxx, which I watched earlier this year. I enjoyed it outside of the last 2 episodes, but I enjoy the characters, I enjoy the story. And I also got The Rose of Versailles, the full series. So episodes 1 through 20 and then 21 through 40, which I saw that earlier this year, and I thought that was one of the greatest anime I've ever seen. So yeah, I had to get it. It's from the 70s, kind of cheesy at some parts, but the story is really good, and it's actually pretty historically accurate. Like, every time something happens on screen, I look it up, and I'm like, huh, that actually happened. Now, some details might be exaggerated, and I know there's a couple things that were changed for the drama of the story, but a lot of it I thought was, from what I read, was pretty accurate to what actually happened in France during the French Revolution. So, if you haven't seen it yet and you want a good, historically somewhat accurate show, definitely check it out. I mean, like, look past the fact that it's from 1979. It's a really good show, really good story, and in my opinion, it still holds up even after all these years. Um, and then I got a few figures as well. I got Yoko from Gurren Lagann, basically one of my waifus. Well, if I do the waifu thing, then she would be one of my waifus, but I don't know. It's kind of weird, but yeah. So I got her and Simone. I almost got Kamina as well, but he was a lot more expensive. Like, he was only at a couple of the other booths there, and he was like $70 or something. And I'm like, that's a little much. And I also got Natsu from One Piece. Now, One Piece, from Fairy Tail. Now, I did see Lucy, and I wanted to get her too, but the only Lucy that they had was it was her dressed in one of her movie outfits, and I'm like, it's not really how she usually dresses, though. I mean, that's kind of the thing. I like with these other characters here, like, that's their normal everyday attire. But when it's like something that they only wore in like one episode or something, I'm like, yeah, I see where they're going with this. And of course, you always had the fan service ones, like, oh, it's this character in a bikini because they're at the beach, even though they never went to the beach at all in the series or something. But, okay, fine, whatever. But I don't know. I just prefer that they're dressed in their normal outfits, but that's just me. So I don't know. I guess I'll have to find Lucy some other time where she's dressed in some of her normal outfits. But I almost got her. She was just a little expensive as well, especially with everything else that I bought between those figures and all the DVDs that I got. So yeah, that was my experience of the convention. This video is a lot longer than I wanted it to be, but thank you for sticking around for the full thing. I hope I was entertaining to you. If you enjoy the sound of my voice, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you're notified when another video comes out, whether it's anime related or video game related. I mean, this is a Let's Play channel, so Let's Play content is up there. I'm in the middle of uploading Mario Party episodes. And so if you're excited for some Mario Party, definitely check that out. I also have a Discord, so if you want to join my Discord, you can hang out with me and talk about anime or video games or Pokemon or post memes. Just say, I want to join your Discord, I'll send you an invite, and you'd be like, cool, be part of the little community that I have. I also have an Instagram that I post to occasionally, where I basically post video game related stuff. Yeah, but since this video ran on for quite a while, I'm going to sign off for now and say thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.